Spicy story in provincial politics today. A report by the New York Times says Therme, the European company that Ontario has chosen to build a luxury spa at Ontario Place, misrepresented itself to Ontario's government, misleading them and exaggerating the company's experience. The company claimed to run as many as half a dozen spas in Europe when in fact they only ran one in Romania. Audits show Therme only had a little over $1 million in equity. Ontario is on the hook for hundreds of millions of dollars in upfront costs to build the facility. Premier Doug Ford says he will have the deal checked to make sure it's all above board. The opposition at Queen's Park says the deal should be canceled.
Making a deal with a company, a foreign company, a spa company that nobody asked for, a 95-year deal that's going to cost Ontarians hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion. I think it's better to get this over with now and cancel the deal. And we've been saying that since day one.
And they're now using Ontario to justify selling spas around the world. So what happened here and the government support that they received is what they're pitching elsewhere. Now, we know that Premier Ford always pitches himself as a very shrewd businessman, but let me tell you, this is not a shrewd deal, and he may have been played.
The New York Times article goes on to say the bidding process used by the provincial government was highly unusual, with participants being required to sign non-disclosure agreements. All right, for more on this, let's bring in former Queen's Park correspondent Keith Leslie. Keith, did the Ford government get scammed on this deal?
Well, it kind of looks what we already knew was a really bad deal for taxpayers, a 95-year lease of prime Toronto waterfront property that's going to cost taxpayers, as you reported, hundreds of millions of dollars in upfront costs. And now looks like it was a con job. I mean, if what the New York Times is reporting, this company way overrepresented its value and its experience in the water spa business and conned Ontario. They got a deal claiming that they had the experience running 6 spas. Now they're saying, well, we just meant that the model was proved. They clearly conned the Ontario government here and got them this real sweetheart deal. And we'd already heard from the Auditor General and the Integrity Commissioner that the whole process was not fair to other competitors, that this Therme deal got some extra special treatment here and meetings with the Premier's staff. So all of this stinks, and now it stinks even more.
All right, so the report says that the government's own advisors noted the company's finances appeared weak. Does this raise more questions for you about why the Ford government picked Therme for this project in the first place?
Absolutely. I mean, was it just a matter of really well-connected lobbyists? Because this company, as you point out, the auditor at Infrastructure Ontario, they pointed out right away that this company had basically €1 million in value, and they needed something like $2.5 billion to manage all the spas they're planning to build. So it just seemed ludicrous that someone didn't do their due diligence and found out that there were actually 2 companies named Therme running water spas, one of them with a lot of experience, and this one that Ontario dealt with that had virtually no experience, one spa in Bucharest. So why did they claim that they had all this experience? They did it to get the Ontario government on side, and then they were able to use the Ontario contract, get new contracts, sell more spas. They're trying to get one in Washington and in Dallas. So this is all basically using Ontario taxpayers' money to get this company, this Austrian spa company, to make a whole lot more money based on things that were clearly misrepresented to the Ontario government.
Yeah, it's really quite the tale, but when he was asked about this today, Ford downplayed it, saying his team's going to look into the report, but he very much wants to go ahead with this plan. Do you still see this spa getting built after what's been revealed?
It probably shouldn't, but I mean, the taxpayers are on the hook for so much in these contracts, apparently, that we may have to go ahead, or at least, it's going to cost us tens of millions of dollars to break the contract. And then what do we have? 800 trees denuded from Ontario Place from the West Island, and now just a bare thing with concrete all over the place. I mean, it's a terrible situation, and the government clearly should not have entered this contract. Whether they'll go ahead or not, it remains to be seen. I mean, the Premier really did try to downplay it today, but he looked very uncomfortable. He tried to blame it all on Infrastructure Ontario, and when he was pushed and said, you said that they had 6, they told you they had 6 spas in 2019. They didn't have a second one until last December, well after they got the contract with the Ontario government. There's a whole heck of a lot of misrepresentation, and it appears to be out and out lying going on here to get this contract from the Ontario government.
And just to be clear for our viewers, you think there is a way they could get out of this, but it's going to mean we're going to still be on the hook for millions of dollars.
Oh, absolutely. There's huge penalties apparently in these contracts, and it was all on the taxpayers for the first 10, 20, 30 years. If we broke the contract, we would still owe Therme huge payments. So it's going to be, it would cost a lot to break the contracts, but if they were misrepresented in getting the contracts in the first place, that might give us, the province of government, a legal out to break these contracts and say, go ahead, try and sue us. You lied to us in the very first place.
Yeah, that would be quite the lawsuit. All right, thanks very much. Keith Leslie joining us tonight on this. Keith, thanks as always for your time.
Thanks for having me.